Welcome to Bad Dog Agility, a podcast helping you reach all of your dog agility goals. Whether it's competing under the bright lights of the televised finals at Westminster or successfully navigating a homemade course in your own backyard, we'll bring you training tips, interviews, and news about the great sport of dog agility. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
The show starts with your hosts, Jennifer, Esteban, and Sarah.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Esteban.
And I'm Sarah, and this is episode 319. Today's podcast is brought to you by hitaboard.com and the new Teeter Teach It, an easy-to-use tool that controls the amount of tip on your teeter so you can introduce motion to your dog in a gradual way. Go to hitaboard.com for the new Teeter Teach It and other training tools and toys. Use discount code BDA10 to get 10% off your order. That's hitaboard.com. Today, we're going to talk about the essentials that you need when you get a new puppy. And for those of you who have had many dogs, I know you think that this podcast isn't for you, but actually it's exactly for the person who has raised multiple dogs, because what I find is that every time you get a new puppy, all of a sudden you are like, do I have everything I need? What are all the things? You have to get things out of storage that you haven't used in a while. And it always feels like you kind of have to remember everything. Does that happen to you, Jen? I know you have like a new puppy now.
I do. I have a almost 19-week-old. So I kind of went through that process recently. I feel like I was kind of eased into it because my mom whelped the litter. So it's very much on my mind for like from birth, well, even from pregnancy to birth. But it was like the day that he was old enough to come home, it was like, oh no, it's real. He's coming from her house to my house. Did I have everything ready? So absolutely kind of that checklist of what things do I need? What stuff do I have to have? You know, I think especially those of you who are on your second or third dog, it's easy to take things for granted and kind of forget some of the stuff that we need with those young dogs or puppies.
Yeah, exactly right. And, I find after decades in the sport that I don't really have to buy too much. Like I have most of the stuff, but a lot of it hasn't been used in years because the dogs kind of outgrow it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'll start things off and say that the first thing that I'm going to make sure that I have is a size appropriate crate for the dog, depending on like how big and how old. You want it to be small enough to help with potty training. And I think what's different about a puppy versus an older dog is that I find I want a lot of crates. Like, I don't know if that's just me, but I want like a crate in the study and a crate in the living room and a crate in the dog room where they're going to sleep and a crate in the bedroom. Like I want crates everywhere for this puppy.
Yeah, when you said crate, I was thinking crates, plural. We definitely got to add the plural, and I'll add to that possibly even like smaller area X pens. What I do is I have the crate where he sleeps and kind of downtime. But like in our living room, I had like an X pen when he was young enough where it's like, you're not really sleeping. It's the afternoon, you're hanging out after dinner before bedtime and you're watching TV or whatever. He doesn't need the entire house, but I don't want him to be, crate. So even X pens, I had two areas where I had X pens, one at work and then one in our living room. And then I had crates in the bedroom and laundry room. So the crates I did more of like, yep, go sleep, go take a nap, go relax, make them a good place. And the X pens were more like, we're awake, we have mobility, but I don't want you to have access to everything where you can get into trouble. So definitely the plural of the crates or X pens.
Right. And then when it comes to sizes, I always find that every time I get a new dog, I'm going up into the attic or into the storage to find the 5 different crates that are all different size, that like progress through the age of the dog. We had all of these teeny tiny crates that are only good for like an 8-week-old puppy. And then you've got the next size up, the next size up, the next size up, and you only use them when you're raising a puppy.
Yeah. Yeah. Different breeds too. So different sizes. I like what you're saying about the X Pen, having the setups around the house. Eventually our dogs just graduate to hanging out in their crates with the doors open, so our dogs kind of have their own dedicated dog room, where they have a lot of space. They can hang out. And then there are several crates in there just with the doors open, and they choose to go lay down in them with or without covers. If it's hotter, they prefer the ones without, right? And they'll lay on the tile and stuff like that. And then we have an X Pen set up near our PlayStation. So Sarah and I have PlayStations one each, so we can play Fortnite together. And so we're like seated right next to each other, right, with the two monitors on the table. And to my direct right, so I get to be closest to the dogs, is of course the X Pen. And the dogs know as soon as you turn on a PlayStation, it's like how your dogs probably are when you go for a walk or you pick up your keys, or they know it's training time and you're going to hit the backyard. For our dogs, it's Fortnite time. So
it literally, like the PlayStation literally makes like a beep and all of the dogs starts going crazy, and they don't want to be anywhere else in the house except for the X Pen right next to the PlayStation. And then just like other people with their routines, like on the very rare evening that we don't play, because it's pretty predictable, like kind of like 8 to 10, 9 to 11 type of time frame. If we're not playing, if we're watching TV instead, they are like trying to go into that X Pen anyway.
It's like how your dogs try and fake you out for dinner.
Yeah.
They're like, hey,
PlayStation time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our dogs. Yep. And so I think the next thing, similar to crates and like you said, X Pens or gates. So we have like a whole bunch of gates so that we can partition the house into a whole bunch of different like pseudo dog proof areas. We know that in our house and our lifestyle and our family, our living room isn't ever going to be completely puppy proof. So when we bring in a new puppy, it's like the kitchen, becomes its own area, and some other areas in the house that we put gates around to kind of help out with that management.
Now that you say it, you can almost back engineer what you're going to need for a puppy. So you kind of want to go through your day-to-day routine, right? Mm-hmm. You say, okay, in the morning we wake up and what are we going to do? Where do we want the puppy? And then as you think about where the puppy is going to be throughout the day, you kind of think of the supplies that you need. Like, what is the absolute bare essentials? Of course, I'm assuming y'all go well beyond this. Jen, do you impulse shop for your puppy? You know perfectly well you don't need another collar. You have about 20 different collars of all sizes at home, but you're going to go get this nice, fancy collar, maybe put their name or call name on it. Are you an impulse shopper for a specific puppy?
Very minorly, and it tends to be with when I'm shopping with a friend, or I'm under the influence of bad friends, where we're out shopping and they're like, "Oh, this would look so cute on your puppy," and you're like, "Yeah, it would." But I am not one left to my own devices to like go on Amazon or go into the store or anything. I tend to be a like one collar for the lifetime of a dog person. So they often have a puppy collar, but then like once they get their collar, it's generally like that collar from puppyhood up. I don't do the fancy collars. I don't do the trading out and the whole wardrobe for the dogs. What I'm a sucker for is puppy pajamas and little like coats, because they're so cute when they're little, but like when they're big pajamas aren't as cute as little ones. So I actually just this past weekend split a little like winter coat. It's like patterned like a little lumberjack, and it's very cute on him. It's winter here, right? So it was on clearance and it looked cute. He'll outgrow it very soon. So I would call that an impulse purchase.
Okay, I think we need a photo, and that'll be the photo for
yes,
on social media.
That's so funny because, the last time I shopped for a puppy, I wanted to go. I wanted to just go on a shopping spree because I was excited, but then I found that there was nothing that I needed, that I had everything, and that everything that I had, I liked better than like what you could just get off the shelf at Petco. So I like walked into Petco with the intention of treating myself and my puppy to a shopping spree. And I came out with...
You actually went without me.
Yeah. And I came out with a collar, because I'm like Jen, like one collar for the life of the dog. So, except for the sizes and everything. So a collar and a bunch of poop bags. I thought, I might need more poop bags. Might be taken for walks. That's all I got.
That's disappointing, because I'm pretty sure you left me at home, so I wouldn't be there to tell you, hey, we don't need that. Or, hey, we already have that. Or, hey, we got one that works fine.
I self-regulated very good. It was very surprising. But yeah, everything else, tend to get online, or, we have it already. So
okay, well, let me stop you there. So we've talked about X Pens, we've talked about baby gates, and we've talked about crates. So kind of areas for the dog, right? And I think that's a great strategy. Love it. especially for us and for Jen. Like there are other members of the family, right? There's another adult for Jen, and for both of us there's kids, right?
Yep.
And now for collars, let me ask you specifically, because I get this question every once in a while from people. What kind of collars do you prefer? Like the rolled up leather, clip, buckle? Like what kind of collars are we talking about that y'all like to use? And then how do you feel about harnesses versus collars for walking, but especially for the puppies for the first several weeks? What do you think? Let's start with Jen.
Mine's a very unofficial answer. So I'm just putting it out there for anybody who wants like the veterinary side, what's best for the dogs. But my guys all wear just like flat buckle collars. Like I typically pick a like pattern or fabric that is specific to them, whether it's like, if you name your dog Princess, you want little crowns on it. Or if its name is, pizza, you're going to get one with pizzas on it or something like that. Or maybe it's bitey, so you get one with a shark. I pick something out and that kind of matches them. And I just use a flat buckle collar. And then typically for ID, I'll either have it embroidered like their name and our phone number, or get those like flat boomerang tags that are flat on it as opposed to the ones that dangle. And then I do use GPS collars when I travel. So if I'm going to be going like out of state on a long car ride, like when I'm headed out to NAC, I do have the FI collars that I will put on them. I don't tend to have them wear them for everyday use just because of the weight. And I worry about the weight on their neck. Not that they're super heavy, but it's more for traveling in car accidents or getting away from me when I'm far away. So that's kind of my routine. As far as harnesses, I love a good visually appealing harness. Like I like the cute ones, or they're in patterns, or you can get tags on them, but I'm not one to be much into harnesses for the benefit of no pull or pull. Like, again, I'm not trying to get into that debate. I do tend to use a harness for high five, just because she does behave a little better on it. So I don't want to say I never use harnesses and then people see me in a harness. So I have put harnesses on her and used harnesses on her, but I've also just used, regular martingale leashes. I tend to not be too picky. I am pretty superstitious though, as we've talked about in the past. So I do tend to be like, once I get a leash that works and it has some good vibes, I tend to use that for a lot of events. But I will say that like my non-agility gear is very different than my agility gear. So like the leashes that I use to take my dogs to the ring at an agility trial are not the same leashes that I would like take them to the vet in or take them on a walk in. So I kind of have some different stuff, but I don't have anything like super systematic. I'm pretty simple, flat buckle collar, martingale leash to go in the ring, and harnesses as needed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was recalling a time when like retractable leashes are popular. I still see them every now and then, but I think that's probably one leash that we don't use.
Yeah, we don't do
anymore.
that. No,
retractable leash. I remember that. I'm trying to remember other trends. I like what you were saying about the dangling tags. I think here still in Texas, like you get, when you rabies, right? They give you
the other day I was going through all my stuff. I was like, why do they still give me this tag? No, like I never put it on the dog. I've got the piece of paper that says that they have it. I was like, why do they still give me this tag?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with Jen. Flat buckle is all day, every day. And I remember with our first dogs, somebody, turned us on to the rolled leather, and it like looked all fancy and it was more expensive, which made us
supposedly better for our golden retriever or dogs that had a certain kind of hair first and wouldn't leave that matted down or even hair loss in the area for certain breeds.
But we never really ended up using it. We always went back to the flat buckle. So I just like the flat buckle ones. I like it to have like a nice big buckle. And I like for the collar itself to be a little on the wide side, because we do a lot of collar grabs and collar starts and restraint and stuff like that. And so we like the kind of
we generally have larger dogs, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So I do like the flat buckle. And then, I'm with Jen. We just use the just the nylon leashes, clip leashes. And I do like a harness for walking. I just prefer to have the leash attached to the dog's back instead of their neck. It's just, I feel like it gets tangled up less. Like when, how like the dog will step over their own leash and get all like tangled up. I feel like that happens less when you have like, let's say a 4-foot leash instead of a 6-foot leash, and you have it connected to their back instead of connected to their neck.
Maybe so, but I'm with Jen on this. Like, I'm not going to get into that. Okay. So I think the next thing to talk about would be chew toys. And it's not just chew toys. I want to say that there's a whole generation of toys out that simply was not around, or at least wasn't popular 10 years ago. And I'm talking about what would you call them? Yeah. Like
puzzle feeders and stuff like that.
I guess the Kong would be the first generation, right? You want to get a Kong for your dog because it's hollow on the inside. It's this kind of rubberized material that the dog can chew on. If they actually are able to break it down and eat it, it's safe for them to ingest and then pass. But you can freeze them, right? And put peanut butter in there, or Bill Jack, whatever you want to do, and make little treats that'll keep your little guy/gal busy for an hour.
I do think that's good for, like, if you want to keep them busy for a long time and feed them, then I like freezing Kongs. But for just like everyday chewing, like my favorite is Antlers. Like we switched to Antlers years ago, and now we just have them on subscribe and save. And every time we get a new pack, the dogs get super excited about the new ones for whatever reason. And then there'll be some Antlers that they like chew up in a day, and then others that last 6 months. I don't even know why, but I really like the Antlers because they don't smell and they don't get sticky. So we never do rawhide anymore or pig's ears or anything like that, because we can't really stand it. So we just do Antlers. The dogs love them. And they're like clean, mess-free, smell-free. Love it.
Now I'm recalling how slimy and gross those guys. Jen, what about you?
Yeah, when I think chews, I'm kind of very similar to you guys. My guys have recently discovered water buffalo horns, which are similar to the Antlers in that they don't have like that smell and that like stickiness to them. They're very similar to an antler. So, and relatively soft, I think. So chewable, but not going to break a tooth on. But as far as like preparing for the puppy, chews don't come immediately to mind. They're not my number one because I have chews for even my adult dogs. But if somebody says, okay, you're getting a puppy, number one thing on your list, even before crates, even before leashes and collars, it's enrichment, puzzles, and toys, because those to me are very puppy specific. Like crates, X-pens, I've got them for the adult dogs. Leashes, collars, got them for the adult dogs. Bones, got them for the adult dogs. But when I think puppy, it's like, what do I have to get out that I don't already have, that I don't really have readily available, that it's in the storage? And it's those puzzles and those enrichment exercises and games. So they are very readily available at my house right now. And what I tend to do is, it's kind of, as you mentioned, Sarah, it's like feeding time to give some enrichment and stimulation instead of just, hey, here's a bowl and in 3 minutes, okay, what's next? So I take one of our gated off rooms, those baby gates that come in so handy, and I will take a meal and I will disperse it among anywhere from 5 to 7 different types of things. So I'll put some kibbles in a Snuffle mat. I'll put some peanut butter on a licky mat. I'll put kibbles in different puzzles. I'll even just simply put kibble in like a slow feeder. And then I spread them out across the room and I open it up and let him go. And he'll spend quite a bit of time going from kind of puzzle to puzzle and over to the Snuffle mat, just to give him some enrichment so that when he gets done, he's like, oh, that was a workout. So if you come home, I think of a lot of people, you come home from work at, 5:15, 5:30, and the puppy's like ready to go. And you're like, you just need a little time before you start like training at 7:30 or whatever. You can kind of give them a little stimulation and make them work for it and give them some enrichment. I mean, a lot of people can even make their own enrichment. I mean, even just taking a box and crumbling up newspaper or tissue paper and putting food in the bottom and digging through. There's one that's going around on TikTok where you roll up treats into kitchen towels, and you tie these kitchen towels in a certain knot, and it's designed to be like a little interactive thing for dogs. So yeah, definitely the puzzles, a Snuffle mats, the topples. I'm a big topple fan. I don't do the Kongs as much now as the topples. As you said, Esteban, Kongs are like first generation, we're now on to the next one. And I will soak his puppy food in those and then add, a little bit of like yogurt or peanut butter, so that it's, again, makes them work a little bit for it. Especially there's going to be some days that you just can't do as much with them as others. and so that gives them a little bit more to do. So that's kind of at the top of my bringing home the puppy list of things that I might not already have out and available. And then we do like a trading kind of system. So we each have 2 or 3 puzzles, but then when our puppies figure the puzzle out, we have a little group where we can trade. So okay, I'll take those 2 puzzles, you take these ones, so that we're not constantly buying. You don't need to buy 10 puzzles, but if you have friends that have different ones than you, and like there's a bunch of nice puzzles at like TJ Maxx and Marshalls. I was just there over the weekend. They had a ton of really nice ones too. The ones that are like real expensive on Amazon. They had, I forget the name of the brand, but they had some, and they come in stage like 1, 2, or 3, depending on difficulty. So check out stores like that.
You're going to need to send me some links to the things that you have, and then maybe like a picture of like your different puzzles. Cause puzzles is something we had a little bit, but again, we have bigger dogs and they tend to be destroyers. I think maybe we try to use them too long into like they get older, and then, or we're like, we get so excited about the puzzle. We're like, this would be great for all of our dogs. And then you give it to the adult dog and they like just eat the Snuffle mat. And you're like, I don't think Snuffle mats are good for us, So maybe just for the puppies.
I put a video camera on the room one time and walked away just to observe him like going around from like puzzle to puzzle and figuring it all out. And it was like a 22-minute video before he finally was like, okay, I'm done with everything. It was just interesting to watch him learn and figure it all out, how quickly he would get frustrated with one and go to another versus coming back to it. Or did he go one at a time? Like he tended to, like when one got hard, he went to another one and then would make his way back. He didn't do one at a time. He kind of picked them based on difficulty. And one of them's like a ball that has a hole. So it'd be rolling all around the room. That one was one of his favorites because I think it was like the most interactive and involved movement versus just standing or laying there trying to work out the puzzle.
That is super interesting. Okay. We have to get some of those. And then I think what we'll ask Sarah to do is put some of these in the show notes page, right?
Yep.
So then you guys can see exactly what Jennifer and Sarah are using for their puppies. You can use it for your own puppies. This is pretty brilliant, making them work for it and having all this brain enrichment type stuff. I used to do this for our human children as well. And I would get these plastic containers. They were kind of like egg shaped. And then I'll put a candy in them. And then I would hide them all around the yard.
Once a year. And our older child is like, they're a little more experienced, a little more intelligent. Well, maybe not more intelligent, more experienced, definitely. So I would make it more difficult. Like I would hide it so it wasn't as easy for them to see. Yeah. And then like some of the more obvious ones for like the little kid, and then lower where they can like reach it. This is a really good idea. Yeah. You should make it into a holiday.
I didn't know that I was such a good parent, like decades ahead of my time, apparently.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. The next thing that I think of that I do think is different for puppies is the toys. And I'm thinking specifically tug toys because Esteban and I, with all of our dogs, we teach them to tug. It's a very important part of like their foundation training. And by the time they are adults, we hopefully have gotten them tugging with the toys that are easiest for us to manage in the field, and which for me is like a burlap bite stick. It's like a Schutzen toy. But when we're first teaching them how to tug, first of all, you have to find what the puppy likes. And so, we'll have all these different tugs, and they may only even want to tug with like 50% of them. So right away, 50% get put right back in the box for the next time you have a puppy who might like a different 50%. And so that's kind of the box that comes back out every time we have a puppy is the toys that our dogs have graduated from, but are more fuzzy, bigger, and stuff like that we can entice the puppy with.
Yeah. We kind of graduate our dogs to like smaller, more compact toys, like less fur, fuzz. For myself, I turn my dog into a leash tugger. And so I graduate them all the way to a specific kind of like rounded nylon leash. I put some knots in it so they have a surface area to bite. And so I'll go all the way there. But it's for the tugging dogs.
Yeah, I start with really fancy, fluffy toys. I say fancy, fluffy, the bright colors and big fuzz. because, I like to buy them and shop for them, but I do that to like build the toy interest, right?
Yeah.
Like I have Shelties predominantly. They don't come with a lot of natural toy drives. So I get really exciting ones, like fuzzy ones mimicking, like the sheep hair type thing. But then once I have a little bit of established toy drive and enthusiasm, I do kind of back off pretty quickly to boring toys because I get into that like party of one. And that's where we're at right now. The toys that I was using a couple weeks ago, I went to a seminar and realized very quickly the toy that I was using was just too exciting. And so as soon as Split would get the toy, he was like off on his own, plucking and running around. So now we're down to a Hol-ee roller, which is like, I have it on a little rope so I can pull it back in, but like relatively boring because we're working on like, hey, the fun happens when you bring the toy back. The fun is happening with me, not the take the toy and go off. So I kind of start with the super exciting ones to build that initial drive, especially ones on long strings. So you can play chase games and drag them. And then I kind of key it, back down. And then once they've like earned toy privileges where they can bring it back and they'll engage with me and not run around in circles or pluck it, I can get some of the nicer ones back out when they're older.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned Hol-ee roller because to me, that is like the most ingenious, wonderful invention ever because it rolls. So you get that pure chase drive. Dogs love to chase it, but it's not going to take those stupid, ridiculous bounces that can lead to weird twisting motions in the dog's spine and neck. And
they're Hol-ee. So if the dog gets like a real tight grip, they can still breathe. And if they're not a super heavy tugger, you can like hook your finger in the hole and kind of shake it or tug with them. Like,
yes,
I'm a big Hol-ee roller fan.
Stretches. Yes, me absolutely. It comes in different sizes,
colors.
Exactly. We have so many. They are so wonderful, easily replaceable, not overly expensive, and linked to that is this idea of tennis balls. So our first generation of dogs, like 20 years ago, was you got them tennis balls, especially retrievers, but no, like our Goldens now, they chase Hol-ee rollers.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I was at Home Goods this weekend and I found all those puzzles, they also had Hol-ee rollers. Like name brand Hol-ee rollers, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, I'm telling you. And they were cheaper than what they had them at the dog show that I was at that same weekend.
Crazy.
Bargain shopper.
Yep. Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that I was thinking about was long line. That seems to be something that we typically just bring out with our younger dogs. I can't remember the last time we put one of our older dogs on a long line. So that's like one of the things where I'm like, where do we keep the long line again? It's either in this box or that box or this cabinet. And you have to go digging through everything to find it. But that's something that comes out whenever we have a puppy.
Yeah.
And I can't think of anything else that's very puppy specific. Have I missed anything, Jenn?
I'm trying to think of the things that I have currently out. And I think you've covered a lot of it. I tend to have some of my training tools a little bit more readily available. I find I'm right now finding clickers in like every table and pocket of every desk. I have, doing a lot with the clicker right now. I've gone a while without using one, or I have it in my training bag, but now I find one on my desk, on my nightstand, in every pocket of every coat. So I have that out. And then I do the resealable Ziploc baggies because I train with the daily allotment of food. So at this stage, it's not meals. So I wake up in the morning and I put his daily allotment of food in like one of those resealable Ziplocs. And like, that's what we work from through the day. So it's not a breakfast, lunch, and dinner as much as take it with me, have it in my pocket. And by the end of the night, hold the bag up and go, okay, well, we've worked through most of it. So I tend to do that kind of as part of my relationship building and training, very organic training throughout the day, as opposed to meals and treats. I'm not a big treat giver for puppies. I do a lot of kibble, both just to make sure like stomachs are good and we're not getting upset puppy stomachs, but also to make sure I'm not, I hate to say, but spoiling the puppy too much. You're starting to give them like the roast beef, the hot dogs, and the cheese at this age, then the other stuff becomes less appealing. So they kind of work their way up. So most of what I'm doing right now is for kibble. So having a little, Tupperware bag or something for when you want to train throughout the day, I think. But otherwise, I think
I guess the last thing, I mean, the related to that is the food. Every time I'm like, oh, what do we feed our puppies again? I got to remember. And then I got to call my vet, who's my friend, and be like, how long do I need to feed them this puppy food before I can feed them regular food? Because all of our dogs are on the same food, have been for like 20 years, same flavor, same brand, and so then it's like suddenly you introduce this new element and I have to remember what I want to feed them. All right. Well, for anybody else out there who is getting a puppy, hopefully this will be your podcast to go jog your own memory about what you need, what you have, what you still need to get, what you might want to go splurge on shopping wise and to enjoy your new addition. We'd like to thank our sponsor, hititboard.com. Happy training.
Thank you for listening to Bad Dog Agility. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, updates, and links to all our socials, just check out our website, www.baddogagility.com. If you haven't already signed up for our email subscription, we would love to have you join the BDA community. Until next time, take care.